Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome to Zentropy Aviation once again. I have part 2 of the Concorde series coming up now. We are preparing for departure at London's Heathrow. I'm going to go ahead and get some lights going for departure and fill you in on a few things that are happening. Takeoff. Alright. So our engines are rated for takeoff. I did that by flipping this bottom row of switches. Our lights are good, and we can go ahead and request takeoff.
Heathrow Tower, Smyrna 666, ready for departure, runway 09 or left IFR to Adams. Smyrna 666, hold short, runway 09 or left. Traffic is generic on the runway. Speedbird 409 or contact ground on 121.908. Speedbird 2774 altimeter 29.83 wing 010 F19er. Cleared for takeoff, runway 09 or left.
Okay, I'm not particularly sure what this clown is doing, but I imagine he is preparing to take off somehow. Oh, of course. This happens sometimes. Alright, so we have 250 knots dialed in for auto throttle. Though the Concorde most likely could get a clearance to exceed 250 knots below 10,000 feet, we are going to go ahead and roll with this for the climb profile. But let me also tell you what I have learned in the 3 flights that I have done yesterday about fuel management. As you see, my CG position here is towards the top. I accomplished this by loading the aircraft a specific way. We're flying to Barbados, so I have this all fully loaded in terms of fuel, but I'm leaving only 50% in the trim transfer tank 11. This makes me a little bit nose heavy, which is perfect because that is what we need to be for departure. This way, I don't need to initiate any kind of transfers to keep myself within the desired CG, and it gives me plenty of fuel for the flight. That is what I have to say about the CG and the fuel load. This is actually the first time of me rolling with this. Yesterday, I did a few flights where I had the aircraft fully loaded with fuel, 100% and everything, and then something dawned on me. Well, if my trim transfer tanks, both 9, 10 up front and an 11 in the back, are full, it doesn't really give me much flexibility to transfer anything from anything, and also I wasn't starting in that ideal CG range to begin with. So this is kind of the way that I'm handling it now, so that we are starting a little bit more proper on that. That is one thing. Second thing is, because I have been just kind of getting my initial familiarization with the Concorde yesterday, I didn't really want to use the default loadout for passenger and cargo, so I was flying with basically a half full plane. They rarely, I believe, flew half filled. They were kind of heavy, usually fully fully packed so that it would be cost efficient for this aircraft to perform these flights. Okay, we're cleared for takeoff. Okay, sweetie, you have a very precious voice when you're offline in the no Azure mode, whatever. Okay, we're going to resume this conversation when we have a little bit less to do. So everything is dialed in right now. That's all we need. Nose down 5 degrees, and we are ready to go. So let's go ahead and activate reheat. Okay, reheat only activates when you do not have auto throttle armed or active. So let's go ahead and test. Okay, everything's stable. Reheat is on. We are ready for takeoff. Somebody is trying to land behind me. Oof. Ridiculous. Okay, so we're going to be lifting our nose a little bit here at 200 knots. And this was a bit less than ideal in terms of maintaining center line, but we are up and about. Gear up, positive rates. It's a little bit jerky in Heathrow, and I am pitching up for 250 knots to maintain that. I am going to go ahead and now that we're at 250, okay, I'm going to pitch down a little bit so that we catch up with that. Now let's disable the reheat. And we can arm auto throttle as well as autopilot. And let's go ahead and enable the INS mode so that we begin making our right-hand turn towards our course and climbing out towards 7,000 feet. We can go ahead and tune ATC. Let's raise our nose.
London Center Smirnoff 666 is at 5,000.
I am verifying that reheat is off. As you see, we are doing well.
Smirnoff 666 London Center altimeter 29.82, continue as planned.
And now we need to transfer our CG aft a little bit, so that is what I'm going to do with this.
Smirnoff 666 climbed and maintained 17,000 feet.
We have permission to climb to
Climb and maintain
17,000 feet.
Smirnoff 666.
So let's go ahead and do that. Below 10,000, we're going to follow the 250 knot rule. we go. You can see that we are starting to get in sync with our flight plan for departure, and we're going to keep a few things in mind as we accelerate. So because of noise restrictions and sonic boom excitement, we could not go supersonic over land, and we're going to keep this in mind that while we're flying over Great Britain, we do not go supersonic. We are only going to do that at Excel Point, which is going to be over water. That being said, we're at 10,000 feet. Let's go ahead and retract the landing lights, as well as the taxi lights and the runway turnoff lights. Let's put our engines into the climb mode. And that is reflected by this white annunciator here that our engines are rated for climb mode. Let's go ahead and accelerate to 350 knots. And because I don't particularly want the auto throttle management in Microsoft Flight Simulator to automatically kick in reheat for me, I'm going to disable the auto throttle, and I'm just going to go ahead and accelerate on my own. We're climbing at a little bit of a steep rate, and now we're accelerating to 350 knots with no reheat, right? Because I don't really want to waste that fuel. So I'm going to manually manage our airspeed. And maintain about 350 knots on this climb. While keeping my eyes on the Mach indicator to make sure that we don't go supersonic.
Climb and maintain flight level 220, Smirnov 666.
Flight level 220. Okay. So as you see, let's
Speedbird 2774, please expedite your descent 10,000 feet.
this is the first time I'm actually doing a climb out to
Expedite your descent 10,000 feet.
altitude on not auto throttle. Let's actually do this. Let's do
Renault 666, please
auto
expedite
throttle
your climb
with
flight level 220.
with 350 knots.
Speedbird 2774, please expedite your descent 10,000 feet.
Perfect. Because I was right there speed-wise, it's going to go ahead and hold 350 knots. And now we're climbing out to 22,000 feet.
Renault 666, traffic is 12 and Takeoff. Clock 3 miles in flight level 215 generic. Report them in sight.
Traffic in sight.
Traffic is 70 and Takeoff. Clock 3 miles in flight level 185. Report them in sight.
Smirnoff 666 have the generic in sight.
We can go ahead and go to standard 2992 because we're above flight 180.
Your descent 10,000 feet.
As you see, my frame rate has now stabilized because we have left Heathrow and everything is performing very smooth. Okay, flight level 360 is
Flight level 360, Smirnoff 666. Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Expect ILS
where we're going.
right approach via Oscar Charlie Kilo transition cleared to Oscar Charlie Kilo Air Portugal 1350.
Speedbird 2774, please expedite your descent 10,000 feet.
So a couple of things that we're trying to balance out. We are trying to make sure that while we are over land, we don't go supersonic. Generally speaking, Concorde's climb profile, from my understanding, past 28,000 feet, so flight 280, past that point, you would generally turn on reheat, and then you would continue climbing with those on. But if we do that, we're going to go supersonic, and we don't want to go ahead and do that yet. We're going to wait until we are not over land anymore, which is going to happen fairly soon, and then we can go ahead and initiate Mach's climb. Turn on reheat, and once we reach 1.7, we can deactivate that. For now, let's go ahead and put it on Mach hold. And we're going to go ahead and increase our Mach number to 0.95. This is going to keep us subsonic. and keep us climbing to where we need to be. Okay, while this is happening, it's time to take a look at our fuel situation and see what is occurring. When you put on this fuel meter, okay, it's lying initially, which is fine. So now we need to start transferring things aft. So, trim transfer tank 9 and 10. Let's take a look and see what we need to make happen in order for that to occur. This is something that I am still figuring out because I'm not comfortable with the fuel transfer yet. That's just something that is incredibly convoluted in Concorde. Okay, so the idea is tanks 9 and 10 are your trim transfer tanks. They are forward in the front of the aircraft. Trim transfer tank 11 is in the aft of the aircraft. So it's in the back. We are now nose heavy. We need to transfer the CG point towards the middle. That means the nose needs to become lighter and the rear needs to become heavier. That is fine and dandy, and that will be accomplished by transferring the fuel out of tanks 9 and 10 towards the rear of the plane. We're going to go ahead and try to execute that in a manual mode. And in order to see the effect,
Climb and maintain
500.
500, Smirnoff 666.
Sure. We are still over land, aren't we? Yes, we are. Okay. Subsonic it is. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the fuel panel on here so that we can see the immediate effects of what we are doing and try to mess with this thing and welcome along for the ride with me here. This is going to be interesting. So the auto transfer we're going to set to off. Tanks 9 and 10 is what we want to enable losing fuel, right? So the pumps need to be on, which they are, okay, and the inlet valves need to be shut. Right. 5 and 7 also needs to be shut. This is 5. These are the being bounced around some stations. I don't really care. Manchester Center.
Manchester Center,
Go
Smirnoff
away.
666 is passing flight level
I have
445,
fuel
climbing
nightmares.
flight level 500.
Alright, exceptional. So we are starting to lose fuel out of tank 9, which is good. This is going to start making our CG move aft. You see, main transfer tank 5 is gaining, while trim tank 9 is losing. That is beauty. So the thing that we are doing with tank 5, the same thing needs to happen to tank 7, which is here. So we're going to go ahead and open the valves on tank 7. Like so. And now tank 7 is also gaining, right? While 9 is losing. This is all going to contribute to our CG becoming more aft gradually, right? So the inlets on tank
Smirnoff 666, climb and maintain flight level 580.
so now it wants us to go to 580. That's fine.
Climb and maintain flight level 580.
Where are we now?
Smirnoff 666.
We are still over land, which can't go supersonic quite yet. Soon though. We're approaching the end of this. In the meantime, we're at flight level 490. So let's go ahead and set it to 580. It's climbing at a rather okay, no reheats, that's all I care about. Because whenever you use auto throttle, I am going to activate reheats once we are able to go supersonic so that we can get to Mach 1.7, after which I'm going to turn it off and go manual until we get to Mach 2, at which point I'm going to enable the Mach hold and hold it right there. So back to the fuel excitement. So 9 and 10. These valves are in the off position. I don't quite yet understand fully how the jettison valves work. But that's another way for you to transfer fuel as well. But I'm not going to venture there because I don't really know what I'm doing. realistically speaking, we are slowly but surely moving fuel out of tank 9. Once tank 9 runs dry, it's going to start moving fuel out of tank 10, which is fine by me. This trim tank 11 is basically going to probably stay unutilized until descent, at which point we're going to replenish these main transfer tanks out of it. Okay. So fuel-wise, we are doing all right. What needs to be happening is happening. We are almost at that point. Right? Flight plan. We can maximize our range because we're going to be doing this for a long time. We are losing altitude. It's okay. I am not too concerned about it right now. What is our airspeed? Mach 0.87. We're going to do max climb in a second, which is going to activate the reheats and enable us to climb further. But I think first thing it's going to do is it's going to lose a little bit of altitude so that it can gain airspeed. Good to go, so let's do this. Reheat on.
Turn off 666, please expedite your climb flight level 580.
Accelerate to Mach 1.7. To max climb. As I have predicted, predicted. It's now entering a little bit of a dive to help it go supersonic.
Smirnoff 666, please expedite your climb flight level 580.
Our CG, take a notice, is progressing right along and within the range that it needs to be in. So I'm pretty sure that I'm not managing the climb properly, because I don't think that the Concorde in its operations was ever really descending while climbing. It was just all managed much better than I am doing it now. However, this is okay, so my prediction is that once it gets to a certain speed, and you can already see it happening now,
Please expedite your climb flight level 580.
it's going to not be in this dive anymore. There we go. We lost a lot of altitude. A lot. That isn't really ideally what we want to do at all. So I think a mistake was that we are continuing to climb while we are trying to gain speed. That was an error. I shouldn't have done that. What I should have done is initiate an altitude hold and keep us at, right now I'm actually going to do this. We are at, let's say, 39,000 feet. Going to go ahead and do an alt hold for 39,000 feet, right? Okay, so while we are at 39,000 feet, we are going to go ahead and do a Mach hold of 1.7. It's not really allowing me to go much higher than 1.53, and I'm right there. So with this, we can then begin the climb. And it's going to allow us higher Mach numbers as we climb. Right? So let's go to flight level 500. And we are climbing. Reheat should be on, yes? It's because we are at the maximum allowable airspeed for this altitude. As you see now, as we get higher, it allows us greater airspeed, so it then activates reheat, which is great. Once we get to Mach 1.7, reheats should come off. and then we will essentially enter this cruise climb stage, which is going to give us an extremely shallow climb. To about where we are going to end up. We need to keep transferring the fuel aft. So that's what we're doing. Mach 1.74. Okay, so when we get to Mach 1.7, I am going to deactivate the auto throttle. Or no, I'm just gonna keep it going. So we're almost at 50,000 feet. We can continue climbing. We have been cleared to 580. So we're just going to keep going in that direction. We're at 1.7 now. Deactivated reheat.
123.905 for Smyrna 666. Chadwick Center, Smirnoff 666 is passing flight level 515, climbing flight level 580.
Smirnoff 666, Chadwick Center, continue to H4715 as planned.
1.93 is what we're allowed to go now. 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. Mach 2.0. Perfect. This is what it's going to get us to and keep us there. We are in Mach hold mode. The auto throttle is going to keep us there. And we keep climbing right now from 560 to 580, at which point I think it will clear us to go to 600, which is our cruise altitude for this flight. Once we get to 600, I am going to end the video and resume shooting the third video once we are ready for approach into Barbados, so that you could see managing descent and landing. I believe I have a way better handle on not making errors on descent now, as I have made the errors in this climb phase. But at least you know which errors I have made during this, and you are not going to do that, because you will learn from my mistakes. It's a little bit of a trial and error, as you see, and then you just kind of figure it out. I've lost a lot of altitude. That's a lot of energy to lose just to have to gain back. That is going to cost me in some fuel. I hope that we have a sufficient amount of fuel to get to our destination. You can see that our trim tank 10 is at 18% now. We have moved all of that fuel into tanks 6 and 7 here. Which is okay because we need to keep moving fuel out of the front towards the back now. Before I end this video, we are at flight level 600. We got there. It wasn't easy and it wasn't perfect, but we got there. Before I end this video, I want to make sure that our passengers are able to see the stats. Yes. As you see, we are building speed to Mach 2.0. We are at 60,000 feet. Let's go ahead and close the door. And ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. Let's build this channel, let's grow it. I will have a lot of content coming your way, various reviews, previews of upcoming products, like I'm doing with the 247D right now, and tutorials. Some of them are tutorials from me actually knowing how to do something, which was the case with the PMDG 737 and how to fly it through all of the phases of flight. And some of them would be like with the Concorde, us figuring things out together and you coming along for the ride and learning together as we go along. Thank you for watching. See you soon.